Okay, guys, back for another reaction. New subject. Pretty privilege. Khadijah and Boe. She does incredible work, really good stuff. Dives all the way into her topics unabashedly. Really thoughtful towards the spectrum of femininity and intellectual apprehension. She does really good work. Shout out to her. I watch a lot of her stuff. Constantly interested in how women think and feel and the issues that they are currently interested in. So, um, this is going to be a good one. It's a little bit longer. This one isn't so bad. This one's only 19 minutes, 37 seconds. So, it's kind of like the perfect timing, low key. Um, this shouldn't be bad. Ask yourself, do you have pretty privilege? Do you have pretty privilege? Do you maybe go through the necessary means in order to attain pretty privilege? Ask yourself that. Does it matter what you look like? Um, are women experiencing pretty privilege? Are men experiencing pretty privilege? It's inherent, right? It's something that you actually inherit. Um, you know, I got it from my mama. They say stuff like that. Broad shoulders, tall, well spoken, deep voices, pretty eyes, round butts, buxom breasts, hard cheekbones, big hands, a sense of a glide in one's gait or walk. We look for a lot of different like traits that could be considered pretty privileged outside of just the way you choose to adorn yourself, the items that you select for your swagger and whatnot. Women's issues. Shout out to my wife Rachie Glenn. Women's issues. She is a cool cat. Um, I'm excited. I'm excited. I don't quite know how I feel yet. I like to always try to run into these things really natural. Just finished cooking up some excellent soup with my wife and for the kids and whatnot. Super tasty. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm always excited to dive into this stuff. Shout out to Khadijah and Bowie again. Excellent, excellent, beautiful work. She is beautiful. She is wonderful. Very exuberant. Very bright, radiant, and intelligent, and foregoing, and basically attacking stuff head on. So I really appreciate that. Let's get right into it.
All right, folks, come on down and meet the hottest male model in town. He's got prominent cheekbones, eyes that could make White Walkers jealous, and he's a convicted felon. Wait, what? That's right, y'all. This is Jeremy Meeks, otherwise known as Hot Felon. His mugshot went viral in 2014, and while he was serving a 27-month sentence for gun possession, he'd committed some other crimes before that. He was discovered by Jim Jordan and son.
So right away, the first thought that comes to mind is okay, the way that she's joking about it. People find doing bad things, rebel shit, to be hot.
To White Cross Management. Meeks made his New York Fashion Week debut in February of 2016, walking for designers like Tommy Hilfiger and Philip Klein, to name a couple. Now, if Jeremy isn't your type, if you're looking for someone with a bit more melanin, or, a little younger, someone with a slightly shorter rap sheet, then Makai Alante Lucky is your man.
20-year-old Makai Alante Lucky, who was arrested back in 2016 for allegedly speeding and driving a stolen vehicle, is being dubbed Prison Bae by the internet.
He, too, had a mugshot go viral, got a modeling career, and also walked for Philip Klein. Is he like a progressive designer or something? Now, those two men look very different, but they have one really important thing in common. Criminal rap sheets? Yes, but no. At least one blue eye? Yes, and you're getting closer. They're both hot.
Distinctive traits. Distinctive traits.
How to triple your client's traffic in just 7 months.
Sorry
Start
about
by
this
fixing
here.
on-page SEO and
Let's get it skipped here, you guys. So, descriptive traits. She has her stuff. I usually I don't skip through people's videos if I'm going to host them. I'm here to give a really good reaction to their entire video. So let's stay tuned here.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Khadija, your favorite internet play auntie. Hello to all my returning nieces, nephews, and nibblings. If you're new, feel free to take a look around. I sit on my floor, I talk about any and everything, usually, social commentary. I sometimes talk with my friends, and sometimes I do video essays.
So one of the things I'm thinking about right away is like when you see somebody's energy, the way they smile, the way that they can command a room and stuff like that. She obviously has a lot of those type of talents. She's really bright. She has the nose ring, the bright teeth, the radiant skin, the choice of the glasses for details, the over and well done hair, the outfit, the smart collar, turtleneck. Pretty privilege is definitely a cultivation to like it takes being kind of well researched and having had actual high level experiences, so you can have that high level reflection for other people and for yourself, so you can attract that partner, so you can attain some of that pretty privilege. Khadijah and Boy suffering from some pretty privilege with the ability here to be able to captivate an audience based on her energy in the room. Shout out to her.
Today's one of those times. Today we're going to be talking about pretty privilege, what it is, who has it, the perks you receive if you're part of the PPC, Pretty People Crew, and why some people are so reluctant to admit that this is a thing that could exist. This concept will be loosely dissected through the biopsychosocial model, and if you don't know what that is, check out my cuffing season video. In the first part, I'll be defining
the biopsychosocial model,
defining what pretty privilege is and explaining from a biological standpoint what makes someone attractive. In the second part, I'll dip into the psychological reasons pretty privilege might exist. In the third part, I'll talk about the social benefits pretty people get in this world. And in the fourth part, I'm going to contradict myself by explaining why pretty privilege might not be a real thing. At least the way we define it. And as always, I'll have a final part with my closing remarks. I also just want to say that this is...
Again, go ahead and ask yourself, does pretty privilege exist?
A very broad topic in my eyes, and there's a lot to talk about. So I'm actually going to do a full debrief in my Friday video and talk more about the social significance of a concept like this and who gets left out of these conversations of beauty.
look at you. You're black, you're poor, you're ugly, you're a woman, you're nothing at all.
That's one of those ugly old ideas being wrapped up and called intersectionality these days. I mean, it's really gross.
If you're not a cis, white, able-bodied male and don't fit into Eurocentric beauty ideas, that one's for you. Should I have gone into ASMR? We'll talk more Friday.
Where is the beautiful girl?
And my granddaughter Amelia.
She is gorgeous. Let us take a closer look.
Again, we watched a video on ASMR. I did a reaction on that. Check that out. ASMR, another way to be sexy, another way to be attractive, without using the face or body. But it's definitely an attraction-oriented sport, ASMR.
Pretty privilege is defined as the social advantages, often unearned, that benefit people who are perceived as pretty or considered beautiful. And there's no mincing words here. That's a pretty self-explanatory definition. Those of us who are lucky to be seen as beautiful have access to a world of privilege that brings advantages you...
Ask yourself, are you does your boss let you off a little bit because you got a nice smile? Does your boss allow you to come in late because you got a nice butt? Are your homies nice to you because you stay clean, because you stay fresh, and you always inspire them to get fresh? Are people kind to you because you're kind to them? I think it's not all about a superficial right or privilege, but I think pretty privilege could also be something, like I said, an energetic thing. Like when your energy is lit, like people are gonna. I think people tend to reward that unless they are coming from a jealous place in their life. So pretty privilege is more than just the superficial rate of things.
May not have ever had to work for, and the ignorance to act like you got it all on merit. And we've all heard it before. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And maybe that's true, but I think it gives a lot of us way more agency than we might actually have. What I mean by that is there are studies that show that some facial features are just attractive no matter what a person's racial or ethnic background is. In a paper by Gillian Rhodes titled The Evolutionary Psychology of Facial Beauty, Rhodes set out to assess the appeal of three candidates for biologically based preferences in attraction. Those preferences are averageness, symmetry, and sexual dimorphism. And again, that's feminine traits in females and masculine traits in males. The language is very gendered. Rhodes notes that for a long time,
Now, one of my baseline reactions to such a video when she says, very, binary, gender orientated. If you find yourself to be a man like I do, or you find yourself to be a female, an actual woman who could produce children and stuff, I think that there's like I don't know, there's some confusion going on with that. Like, why can't anybody be called males or females anymore? Is that because just because males and females exist doesn't it doesn't subjugate other types? They have their titles, so I think we need to like allow people to have their titles instead of trying to diminish the definition of the other because you feel unrecognized. There are female traits and there are masculine traits. Masculinity is within all of us, and femininity is within all of us. I think we live in a society where people are so like tagline oriented, and we run away with logos. We got to figure out what the name of the thing is called so that we don't have to fret and worry anymore. We got to get away from that. Um, Pretty privilege. I guess everybody deserves a little bit of attention.
the social sciences believed that standards of beauty were attributed to cultural conventions, but suggests that through observation, those three preferences may actually be a part of our biological rather than our cultural heritage. A lot of other studies evaluate averageness and symmetry as rules of attraction.
My name is not Richard. Well, then what is it? Dick. What? Dick. You heard me.
And as we talked about last week when discussing tweakments, surgeons explained that they would do work on men's jawlines, chins, and necks to make them look more masculine, and more work on women's cheekbones and softening the jawline to make them look more feminine. All of these guidelines for attraction look at the broader idea that at our most basic level, people are attracted to signs of health and fertility. But
So, again, do you believe that? Do you believe that people are essentially attracted to signs of health and progeneration, the ability to carry your genes on? It's there's something subconsciously reflected in the way that you carry yourself and your physical traits. The the hips and the breasts and traditional masculine roles. For a lot of people, they used to say a lot of this type of thought is being obscured nowadays. But to continue, they used to say broad shoulders, deep voice, masculine presence. You would one would feel more protected by such a person. So what a slippery slope all of this identity politics stuff is.
privilege isn't just about being a desirable mate.
said so many things. Like,
you're perfect,
some
you're
of them-
beautiful, you look like Linda Evangelista, you're a model. She could walk out there in a diaper.
Now, my real reaction to this stuff is I'm just wondering why it's so cartoonized. I think the ultra androgyny and the this almost like characterized like anthropomorphism, like it's like an ascension, you know, um, something past human, something past what could be perceived as homoerotic. It's like almost like they've been able to successfully break themselves off to be like, and I'm being honest and serious here, to be like almost like they've ascended, you know, spiritually. It's like a form of ascension to them, you know, God mode. It's like God mode. Um, really interesting. Really interesting complexion of thoughts and ideas and culture.
And they're like, Valentina, your smile is beautiful.
Like I said, from an evolutionary standpoint, good looks are a sign of health.
So you got to wonder like what she would think, what she believes that type of imagery represents. I just wonder what it actually represents for her subconsciously and flatly, more succinctly. I wonder what she really thinks about that, and why it was slipped in there as a never minding type of thought. But it was clearly useful.
And fertility. With that in mind, it only makes sense that those biological factors would bleed into the psychological factors that have most of us thinking that to be beautiful is to be trustworthy, talented, and an overall good person.
I get very scared, but he's also really dreamy.
And as the great Sappho said herself, what is beautiful is good.
So the duality behind what is beautiful is good, the poetic meaning, and then the Dahmer like approach where Jeffrey Dahmer and the likes were, you know, this guy he was thought of to be beautiful, and it changes people's perception. It does something to them. The dark romanticism. Shout out to my guy Go Goon here. What's up, Wakeless here? Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you. Hustle inspires hustle, man. Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you out there. I really appreciate you. If you're out there listening, man, keep tuning in. Ask yourself, Go Goon, do you suffer from gold? Excuse me. Do you suffer from pretty privilege, golden privilege? Um, you might suffer from that shit, bro. Um, you know, they don't hire ugly people. A lot of places, like, say if you were extremely homely and you went in for a job and you were repulsive, you're probably not going to get that job just because of how people feel about incredibly homely individuals. So back into privilege here. I wanted to quickly take a look at Jeffrey Dahmer before we diverted there. Jeffrey Dahmer, like I said, perceived as good looking, and so it kind of throws a whole nother fan group for a loop. Um, his evils can be forgotten because people think that he's good looking.
So it has to be true, right? Come on, y'all. Think with your thinking brain.
Or rather, more closely, his evils can be forgotten momentarily.
That is just another bias we've been conditioned into, and it's called the halo effect. Besides, that's not even the whole quote. The halo effect is a cognitive bias that claims that positive impressions of people, brands, and products in one area positively influence our feelings in another area. Why does this happen? Well, we're not all stubborn Tauruses, but we are all biased. As humans, we don't just use objective reasoning to inform our impressions of others. We use what we already know and make an image that works well within our own minds. If we relate that back to attraction, it makes sense that if you're constantly told good looking person equals good person, you would continue to consciously and unconsciously feed that bias. Even the term good looking. Also, I be telling y'all about aesthetics.
Hopefully, you guys are understanding exactly what she's saying about the halo effect and how it has that underlying weight to it and influence on you. If you're perceiving beautiful things to be good, then you'll tag things to be beautiful. So really interesting here, just how we use words like that and how they really do have an influence on how we see the world. So that's why I say if you're ever self-deprecating and you're saying negative stuff to yourself just because you made some tiny ass little mistake, don't do that.
We all out here haloing everyone using one thing as a proxy for assuming how good someone is. But for real, this bias is seen everywhere and all the time. People will believe someone is a decent person because they're decent looking, or worse, excuse someone's terrible behavior just because they're hot.
How do you reach the
Like I said, we're right on track here, so let's roll through this
top of search
commercial.
results? Increase your website's visibility with the
Call me crazy, but I would let Chris Brown beat me up any day. Um, that's obviously a sensationalized comment, but in light to my real reaction says, there are women out there that like rough play and stuff like that. There are men out there that like rough play and BDSM and straps and chains and whips and cuffs and leather and all types of other um, thoughts that might not feel sexually comfortable to you. So now, if this word right here, beat, was replaced by tie me up, people wouldn't bat an eye. It's just that she used the inflamed language. Um, so it's just really interesting. One of my other thoughts behind this, and this is just something that's actually homegrown that I surmise, I think there has to be something to this here, like the damsel in distress, the princess, the pretty princess who always has to get captured, or she's always getting fucking kidnapped, or someone's always trying to rush to marry her and shit. There's something about the access to like the pretty girl that makes like psycho types and an inclination for female asphyxiation, like wanting to choke a girl, like guys wanting to choke girls and tie them up and stuff like that. That has to have something to do with this pretty privilege thing too, from a very twisted perspective, where these beautiful women are always finding themselves in victimized situations.
Y'all really said that. I, I hate it here.
Take me to the window. I wish to say goodbye.
Now, let's talk about all the fun ways pretty privilege rears its ugly head. Get it? Because it's pretty.
So what I'm saying, like Khadijah here, Khadijah and Bowie also suffering from pretty privilege, because it's like if you're charismatic, if you're charismatic and you can attract people and you're funny and you're witty, like that's that's advantage based.
Then it's ugly. You get me. You get me.
Jackson, from the very start, my lawyer's gut, it told me he was innocent. It said, no man with pecs like that could be guilty.
Social beauty standards, or should I say the nuances of them, seem to change with the times. In the 50s, everybody wanted to look like Marilyn. In the 80s, we were all about getting fit. In the 90s, people wanted to look like waif-thin models. In the 2000s, we were all about health.
Again, I hope you notice this, but beauty obviously does span and trends. I think that there are eternally beautiful traits and characteristics, but these characteristics solely they get chosen or selected in different periods to be the flagship version or definition of beauty for that time.
And for some reason, low-rise jeans. I lied. I don't know what our beauty standards were about in the 2000s. Like, what? What, maybe interracial dynamics? Oh my God, did they date? What? And now it's racially ambiguous Instagram model.
Racially ambiguous Instagram models. Um,
Models with impossibly small waists, big booties, and the perfect Instagram face. But with every new iteration of beauty standards comes the same benefits of preferential treatment. In a study by Tanya Rosenwald of Wasing University and Marcus Mobius of Harvard called Why Beauty Matters, Rosenwald and Mobius claimed that they could identify 3 channels through which physical attractiveness raised an employer's estimate of a worker's ability. The confidence channel.
and that's what I was saying before, man. If you're handsome and you're well spoken or you're beautiful and you get shit done, you're gonna be favored to some extent, right? Comment, let me know if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong on most of this stuff. I just want to take a look at this and take a look at it with you. I want you guys to hold my hand because I don't know. I'm just trying to experience the world at the same time you are.
And the visual and oral stereotypes channel. Through citing other studies, this study talks about the connection of confidence and beauty and how the physical attractiveness stereotype of attraction correlates to intelligence, social skills, and health. And it can become a self-fulfilling.
I actually believe that. I actually believe that. I should let my thoughts develop on it a little bit more, but I do believe that when you unify self care and educating yourself and trying to be basically grounded into not only your interests but gaining more interests and your base, which is your family. I think you might be walking the best path necessary because sometimes we end up walking these paths that differ because we're thinking of that thing that we want to do but we haven't gotten around to it. You know, you're thinking that somebody's going to doubt you. You're thinking somebody else is going to laugh at you. You think, so it's like, but when you're in this, when you're taking care of, it's hard to get defeated when you got abs and when you're taking care of yourself and when you can do 200 push-ups in a row. It's hard for that. When people throw rocks and stuff like that, it's hard for it to penetrate because you've developed your shell. You've put your mind into books and you've explored different ideas. So your intellectual vibrance is such that it's going to defeat and reflect hater shit. Um, keep studying up, do your thing. Never fully define yourself. Keep expressing. Keep reaching for more. Because ultimately, I believe that's what we're here for: is to have a good time. So let's get back into it.
Prophecy. That's called the kernel of truth hypothesis. And according to that, teachers will give more attention to better-looking kids because they believe they'll outperform in school. Explains a lot, Khadija. This preferential treatment in turn builds confidence as well as social and communication skills. And in the labor market, those skills are keys to success. Those skills are keys to higher wages.
Bring the guns out. Bring the guns out.
Economists examining US and Canadian samples have found that.
Now ask yourself. I mean, like again, I'm reacting. I'm giving my honest opinion. Do good-looking people uh, bring a different energy to the room, or is it just me?
Attractive individuals get paid on average 12 to 14% more than their unattractive coworkers. In the criminal justice
That's substantial.
system, the researchers found that handsome men had received significantly lighter sentences. In fact, attractive defendants were twice as likely to avoid jail as unattractive defendants. This doesn't mean they need to go to jail.
And that's what I was trying to say about the job thing. It's like we have this tendency as human beings to want to put the ugly away, do away with the ugly. They're giving the ugly guy, the ugly gal, more time.
We would like to avoid it, but I'm not saying I don't know how big the pool of people is. And I'm not done, because this bias is also seen in politics.
Oh, that reminds me, our Prime Minister is home.
A study of the 1974 Canadian federal elections found that attractive candidates received more than 2.5 times as many votes as unattractive candidates. And in a study analyzing the appearance based effects of the U.S. House of Representatives 2016 elections, researchers found that attractiveness positively affected the vote share, whereas perceived likability and competence played no role. So we have a few examples of how being better looking just makes you better off in the world. And I
Let me know. Do you guys believe that? I believe that has to be true. Um, Unfortunately, that must be true. Um, Now, this isn't the first time I've heard of this subject at all. When I first came across this in school and stuff like that, it just makes you take a greater look at what it means to be human.
guess we're done. We're done.
So we got a break coming up here again with the ad. I apologize.
Canva's is so easy to use. People always tell us that our
Shout out again to Khadija and Boy. Excellent work. She has a strong community. And she's talking about interesting stuff that a lot of people are. Keep in mind, a lot of people are afraid to just give their opinion about anything these days. And then there's others of us who may be afraid to develop our opinion or look into things for ourselves, or maybe afraid to express ourselves fully. So let's get back into the video. I'm pretty privileged. For all you pretty motherfuckers out there, for all you ugly motherfuckers out there too, go ahead and take a bath. It's better to smell good.
Yo, what kind of commentary channel would I be? Huh? What kind would I be if I didn't present all the information to you, then go on and dissect it? Huh? Come on.
I'm pretty.
What?
And my family, I'm the pretty one. My eyes and I smile. And my family treated me like I'm pretty. They expected nothing from me. Ever. Never pushed me, never thought to.
Okay,
Now that's going into another place. I don't know if I believe that. That seems to be kind of a feminized crybaby way to put it onto a male. But I think a lot of times, if you're a good-looking guy or a good-looking female, the world or your constituents or your peers around you are going to be putting pressure on you to be the leader, low key. I mean, that's just what I happen to believe. But let's get back into it.
we know being deemed conventionally attractive gives you certain benefits in life, but is it really a privilege? If we look at the actual definition, privilege is defined as a right, immunity, or benefit enjoyed by a particular person or a restricted group of people beyond the advantages of most. Looking at it from that angle, you can definitely benefit from being attractive in terms of crime and punishment, but beauty doesn't.
Okay, let's go back to it again.
Group of
A right, immunity, or benefit enjoyed by a particular person or a restricted group of people beyond the advantages of most. Um, there are certain ideals that are going to help you be immune. Um, Social ideas. I don't necessarily think it's a right at all, but it definitely is a benefit, and it's going to be enjoyed by a particular group of people. beyond the advantages of most. So I don't know.
Beyond the advantages of most. Looking at it from that angle, you can definitely benefit from being attractive in terms of crime and punishment, but beauty doesn't grant someone the right to murder people and not face any repercussions. You can benefit in the job market by being more attractive, but beauty doesn't grant anyone immunity from being sexually harassed or assaulted at work.
You're a beautiful girl. Now I understand what she means by connecting the dots with the immunity to sexual assault and stuff like that. Like I get that. We're talking about common social happenings, like more selection based and favor based social happenings, not victimization stuff. But it's all. I mean, and what sucks even more, obviously, is I'm giving you my real reaction, is that victim based attacks have any that is the sadness that I feel is that victim based attacks would have any correlation at all to pretty privilege, which they obviously do.
So everything you just said?
I'm a man who knows what he wants.
Or anywhere for that matter. I mean, Rihanna is a beautiful person, and that did not stop Chris Brown from doing what he did. They just had other people coming out of the woodwork saying really dumb things about letting him do the same.
I think, for the sake of the interest in her essay, I think, yes, I can congratulate the creativity to be able to stretch that far, but I'm also wondering why say such a obvious.
I think because he was hot. And we all know that Jay-Z tried it with Beyonce. Beyonce! Calling it a privilege implies that you not only get benefits, but that you're protected from facing the ugly realities of this world. And that's just not true. Beauty does not give you immunity from everything or the right to anything. And I'm not trying to downplay the evidence that I just spent most of this essay presenting to you, but I am working on being impeccable with my word and think that there's a difference between privilege and benefits. Another reason I, and I think other people that are opposed to this concept, have a hard time saying it's outright privilege is because beauty is more than anything a commodity. And like most commodities, it's used to further advance a capitalistic agenda that cares more about.
Now, with it becoming a commodity and not being a privilege, I think that that only gives the notion more energy and more power. This pretty privilege idea. Um, I think privileges and commodities are definitely within the same sector um, from an overall human economy standpoint. Um, my thought is that pretty privilege isn't isn't becoming better just because it becomes a commodity if you're ugly.
Earnings than the human beings attached to those labels, like how blackness is a commodity. I'm not saying every single person thinks this way, but there are people out there that do not care about black people. They care about the money they can make off of black culture, and that goes for beauty. Another reason pretty privilege or benefit is difficult for some people to talk about is because we have a very bootstraps mentality about work ethic in the Western world, specifically in nations that praise masculinity, which is like every nation. There are many sources that prove that this kind of thinking doesn't work and that anyone wanting to
Okay.
succeed in this world.
The first thing I think about is like, okay, I'm obviously a guy, so I'm thinking, okay, why like I've never come across something in my life that was praising women and been like, why though? Ugh. Or again? Just sucks that we're so divided down the lane, that people have these type of attitudes just because it's the opposite sex like this. That's a real reflection of how disappointed people are, like, by people of the opposite sex. I see it feels like, from maybe a romantic standpoint, or just I think there's a lot of sexual attitudes nowadays that kind of defy the old roles, feminine and masculine roles, to the point of looking at men or women in those binary states or standards as a weakened role, something unevolved. It's like if you're just a man, then you're unevolved. If you're just a woman, then you're unevolved. I get the sense of that. I get the sense of that from that type of community. To be more specific, more homoerotic, more non cisgender communities. I believe that they almost look down. Not even almost. I get the sense that they look down upon like straight people in the same way that they've had to endure and experience. And I think that it's not because it's necessarily true. I think it's more about it being like a get back thing, and it goes to show like how in pain people can feel when they're not being seen for who they really are. And it's just really unfortunate now that we live in a society, or rather, we live in a state of a state socially where we're constantly combating with one another over these ideals. Pretty privileged.
Needs work ethic, but also needs help. That aside, because of this romanticized lie of a really strong work ethic and just doing what needs to be done all by yourself, being told that anything is handed to us and not earned rubs people the wrong way. Another final reason pretty privilege is a reluctant title for a lot of us to hold on to is because most of us don't fit into the conventional prototypes of attraction embedded in this cis heteronormative, ableist, ageist, white supremacist world. I'm not trying to be dramatic in using.
I love this stuff because obviously, like when you're a smart person, it's hard to give baseline definitions for stuff. Like if you got the type of thought synapse where thoughts jump, 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 jump. I know that she's playing to her essay, but I believe she really thinks like this in a very socially and forward developed way, where things need to be defined the right way to have a complete understanding for them. So I really respect that. Now, to a sapiosexual type of person like myself, I'm attracted to physical traits and other things, and even sonic traits. But there's something beautiful. There's a privilege in being intelligent. So
And all those $50 words, but I don't care what the scientists say. I regretted it as soon as I said it, but not enough to edit it out. Certain things make most people across the board conventionally attractive, but a lot more of us are attractive for our own unique beauty aesthetics. And if we don't define beauty the way the invisible powers that we do, or the way the beauty industry does, then yeah, pretty benefits exist on the macro, but on the micro in our everyday lives, maybe not as much.
Oh, the true beauty is I have a right to my color, darling. I am beautiful, and I know I'm beautiful. Taking the wrong way, shit. She looked bad, and no way to.
this is one thing I never understood about the ratchet approach to street style or open fiery aggression. I can hear the poetic sense, but I wonder if people who are kind of like ratchet, like see themselves like and that's me. I think obviously leaning on some sense of my own perception of pretty privilege based on like judging people on how eloquent they are, or how they might approach a situation when they get fired up. Um, I think I think we're watching some drag stuff, but it definitely reminds me of Like a mean woman is so unattractive to me. So unattractive to me. So a woman just screaming at you. I want a woman. I don't want to suppress a woman at all. I want my beautiful wife to tell me how she feels and to tell me what she thinks and to kick it to me the real way and tell me when she needs love or a hug or some support in the way that she wants it or tell me if I'm fucking it up. It's not about suppression. It's just I just don't want to be yelled at. I'm just that type of guy. I just want to be able to sit down and like let's talk about this thing. Let's hit it head on. Let's not suppress it or put it try to sweep it under the rug. I'm not one of these type of dudes. And that's what happens. This is what happens when people get pissed off and have to hold stuff on their heart, like they get pissed off, you know. And then you can lose the ability to approach shit smooth.
What you think
That's just an overall side note. Nothing personal to this person.
about it?
Go ahead and excuse me for these ads here. She's funny as hell though. She's like keeping it real. I've seen her light some up before. She be hitting the wine up, like just getting loose, getting into her creative vibe and shit. If you don't understand that, you don't understand it. She's definitely an exhibitionist. She's definitely um, she definitely appreciates the voyeurism that she gets from her um, followers and supporters, for which she seems to be very grateful for and loyal to. By the way that she strolls and she does a scroll for her Patreon people, and I think it's really lit.
I hated this. I think pretty people get advantages in this world, and the research proves it, but knowing what I now know, I can't fully call it privilege. Am I drunk? What? That did not. I had a glass before this. Being beautiful is just this like weird conundrum. Like it's both explainable by science, but also not with evolving beauty standards. It's both an advantage and a disadvantage. It's something that people believe makes your life easier, but it's also something some people refuse to admit even affects them. In that study that I talked about with the 1974 Canadian election, 73% of voters denied, like with purpose and intention, that they had even considered someone's looks when they were voting for them.
Let's just quickly go back to that just for my fun.
73% of voters.
Unattractive candidates, despite such evidence of favoritism towards handsome politicians, follow up research demonstrated that voters did not realize their bias. In fact, 73% of Canadian voters surveyed denied, in the strongest possible terms, that their votes had been influenced by physical appearance. Only 14% even allow for the possibility of such influence. Voters can deny the impact of attractiveness on electability all they want, but evidence has continued to to confirm its troubling presence. There is bias. I mean, ask yourself: do you treat people more kindly because they're attractive, because they speak to you in a certain way?
Denied, like with purpose and intention, that they had even considered someone's looks when they were voting for them. Also, the reason I just hated this was because it's just a conversation that leaves a lot of people out that don't fit into a certain box. But like I said, we'll talk about that on Friday. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end to witness my last semi, I think I'm still being articulate, but like I really did chuck that. Ooh, what was I even saying? Thank you for making it to the end. Oh my god, I need to stop filming. There are a few links below. Oh, link is about to take over. There are a few links below if y'all are interested in reading. It's not all the sources that I use, but it's just a few that I think are pretty cool. And some of the studies that I talked about. There's also a really good channel called Quote Studio. They talk a lot about beauty and attraction and way more sciencey about this stuff, because honestly some of this jargon goes right over my head, but very good. Help me out with this, so check them out or him out. Oh boy, oh boy, wow! I usually don't do that when I'm filming these because it's a lot of words that I gotta know. But here we are.
By the way, I really do watch her videos. Like I said before, she does excellent work. Pay attention. You might also like some of the suggested content that pops up around presenters like herself. She's doing excellent work. So shout out to her, Khadija and Bowie.
Ooh, boy, I don't remember what I was saying. I'm not that cheap usually.
And I may be mistakenly pronouncing her name, so if I am, I apologize.
Damn. It's because it was so fast. Okay. Oh my God. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Water your plants, feed your pets, do all the great things, and remember that you can always change your mind because you can. Because you can. You can always change your mind.
Right, and that is really important. You can change your mind. You can add to your collected thought. You can try to turn the corner. You don't have to be on the fence. You can continue to educate yourself. You can continue to be educated in things, and to seek education and to seek interest and to have fun. Um, I think one of the best ways to learn a lot of shit is to just have fun doing it. Um, there's nothing wrong with being a student. Um, I feel like if you're in a place right now, if you're listening out there and you want to add something to your life, go learn something. There's no two ways around it. So, thanks again for tuning in with this video here. And when you're on the road to doing that new thing, ask yourself, are people treating me different because I'm handsome? Are people treating me different because I got a nice ass? Are people treating me different because I got shiny white teeth? People treating me different because I smell great? Because I select these options for clothing because I look creative, because I do creative things, because I'm a loving person, or I look loving, or seem loving, or sound loving. Um, pretty privilege, pretty privilege, pretty privilege. Definitely think it applies to both males and females, cats and dogs. Um, this is so interesting, man. So interesting. Life would be a lot more boring, a lot more. Shout out to my guy on Weef. Boring. If people all look the same, and if people were all ugly, or if people were all beautiful, I guess there'd be some boring factor because you just wouldn't be able to appreciate all the different variations in between. Again, life is very interesting. I'm just trying to tour it with you guys, just trying to ask some tough questions, just trying to give a good reaction, or rather, not a good reaction, a flat reaction, a boring reaction. As long as I'm giving my pure reaction, I'm just trying to give a reaction to some of these things that I'm encountering, and trying to shoot some questions out there. So this wasn't a bad video. She has 309,888 hits on this. Shout out to her. We're gonna be doing a couple more of her videos unless she sends me a cease and desist at someday. But I think she's doing really good work and asking a lot of tough questions, or at least putting a lot of things out there to be easily digested. And I really think that's dope. So again, if you're out there, if you're listening, let me know what type of videos you want to watch. I'm gonna have some more hooligan type stuff. I'm gonna have some funny stuff rolling through too. Just trying to build a nice collection of videos here, so we can jump from some of these thought bubbles, and by the time you watch 5 of my videos, maybe you've read 5 different books in a sort. So I just want to really poke some holes in how we think, and maybe fulfill some other holes. So shout out to you guys, shout out to the real ones. Grunch, you already know what it is. Look out for those treats and those favorables coming from him in the future here. Go Goon 1000K, a real one. My wife Rachie, some of the others out there, Salami, on Weef again, Tony Fox Gaming. Who else we got? Dylan Dimpy. I appreciate you guys. My guy known as Loser on the Discord here. Um, I appreciate you guys, man. Tune in for more shit. Vibing, you already know what it is. Another new guy that we met last night. I'm gonna be online later tonight, as always. So holler at me. I appreciate you guys. Have a good night. Love yourself. Really try to love yourself. Jump in the shower if you're stinky, if you know what I mean. Shout out to you guys.